the outflow boundary, or the cool air put out by that tremendous area of heavy rain and hail, has gone just a little bit south of the storms, and sometimes when that happens, it cuts off some of the inflow into the storms. Now, that's not to mean there couldn't be a tornado there, but it makes it a little bit less likely. The downdrafts will dry up the rain as they come down, and the winds just off the surface are close to 60 miles per hour, and so if you have a downdraft coming down very quickly, it's going to transport those 60-mile-per-hour winds down to the ground, and 60-mile-per-hour winds can knock down very large trees that can actually do serious damage to your home. So even if that's not a tornado, as Jason said, if the winds are 60 or 70 miles per hour, it doesn't matter if they're in a straight line or in a tornado, you really need to go ahead and take shelter. So there's some very strong winds in there. And again, you know, one thing to mention, James, the radar only picks up the component of the wind along the radar beam. So if the radar is picking up 50 knots, which is 58 miles per hour, that means that's the minimum speed that the wind is there. It could even be as high as 65 or 70 because the radar hits it at a little bit of an angle. Well, James, one thing I was noticing is looking at the temperature and dew point data and taking a look at the radar, if we can put the radar back up there and take a look as this storm moves across. There is a frontal boundary. It's fairly weak, but it's been sitting around central Alabama for really the past 24 hours or so, and you can really see that in the temperature data and even in the reflectivity on radar. That front extends from south of Florence around, say, Red Bay towards Coleman. And often when storms ride right along frontal boundaries or other types of boundaries in the atmosphere, that gives them an extra source of energy. It also gives them an extra source of rotation, as right along the boundary between slightly cooler air to the north up in Huntsville and Decatur and warmer, more humid air just to the south in Winston County and Walker County, that sets up a little bit of a sea breeze-like circulation almost, James, where it gives the air a little bit of extra wind shear, and that can cause storms to rotate more. That may be why we're seeing this enhanced rotation on the northern end of the storm up there, close to and just north of Hamilton, moving into Winston County. The other thing I wanted to note too is, if you notice, there's storms now starting to form not only further to the south near the Fayette-Walker County line, but some new storms are also forming much further south and west, back in near Columbus and west towards Starkville, Mississippi. We're going to have to keep an eye on those because those have really ramped up here in the past 15 minutes.
Yeah, no kidding. I see that,
this storm is so large. The red that you see on reflectivity there on the radar, that represents heavy rain and hail. And you can see it almost swirling now like a small hurricane. And we call that an MCV, or a mesoscale convective vortex, because it becomes so large and has lasted so long. That storm came out of southern Arkansas, James, hours ago, and it's lasted all the way across. Warm across Alabama today. Now, spring officially begins about 1 hour from now at 12:49 a.m., but it felt like spring across Alabama today for sure. A high of 81 here in Birmingham and Anniston, 83 over in Tuscaloosa, 84 degrees in Montgomery. Now, today was the first time that all of us here in central Alabama have seen lower 80s, and highs tomorrow just as warm as today, with most of us reaching 80 or a little bit higher as we head into tomorrow afternoon. Now, we didn't barely see a cloud in the sky today. Plenty of sunshine. We may see a couple of mid-level clouds during the night tonight, but all in all, a very pleasant evening, and temperatures cooling down slowly. It's currently 61 here in Birmingham. Also in Tuscaloosa, 57 degrees right now in Anniston. We'll wind up somewhere in the mid-50s tomorrow morning. Some of the normally colder valleys over in East Alabama may drop down near 50 degrees by the time we get into tomorrow morning. Now, expanding the view and look around the country, we see plenty of nice weather all in all across the southeast. So we'll see partly cloudy skies during the day tomorrow, but southerly winds will start to increase during the day. You'll notice an increase in the humidity levels during the day tomorrow, and with that we'll see a couple of scattered afternoon thunderstorms, much like we see in the summertime. Then big changes coming up tomorrow night and Sunday. We see scattered showers and storms here in the northern part of the country. This is a strong cold front from Minnesota back through Nebraska tonight, and this front means business. It will move through Saturday night, maybe a couple of showers with it late Saturday night, then much colder air coming in for Sunday and Monday. Believe it or not, highs tomorrow in the lower 80s. By Sunday night, we may see some frost here in central Alabama, with lows dropping into the mid-30s in some areas. So a big change coming up for the weekend. As for tomorrow, warm once again with highs in the lower 80s. Only about a 20% chance for a shower or a thunderstorm during the afternoon and evening. Again, very similar to summer-like weather. The front roars through here Saturday night and Sunday morning. Sunday it will be partly cloudy but breezy and much cooler, with highs on Sunday only in the 60s. As for tomorrow morning, mild around most of central Alabama, 54 degrees here in Birmingham. As we said, a little bit cooler to the east, 49 in Gadsden, 50 tomorrow morning in Anniston. Then beautiful spring-like weather tomorrow afternoon, a high of 81 here in Birmingham, 82 in Tuscaloosa, just a small chance for a scattered afternoon thunderstorm. Take a look at the long-range forecast. The bottom drops out of the temperatures Sunday and Monday, a high of only 63 Sunday, 58 Monday, and we could see some problems with frost on Monday morning with that low down to 34 and some of the plants.
We've had counties under tornado warnings almost continuously since about 6 o'clock tonight. The atmosphere is very favorable for the production of tornadoes. We've got a lot of wind shear. Basically, the wind's at the surface blowing out of the south. You go up to about 5,000 to 10,000 feet, the wind's blowing out of the west, and that sets up a lot of wind shear in the atmosphere, and that's why any of these storms that form have the potential to start rotating and produce tornadoes. Indications of a possible tornado right in here, south of the interstate, northwest of Pell City. It's moving off towards the northeast and will affect much of the northern and eastern parts of St. Clair County over the next few minutes. So a tornado warning still in effect for St. Clair County for another 18 minutes or so until 11:45. If we can move up a little bit further now and take a look at Cherokee County, we also have a tornado warning in effect for Cherokee County until midnight tonight. We see strong evidence of rotation here very close to center, right along Weiss Lake. Now this storm is up at the north end of what we call a little bow echo, and often we see tornadoes spin up on the north side of these lines of thunderstorms as the shear on the northern end of the storm is very great. This tornado could affect areas around center. It also may move over towards Cedar Bluff in the next 5 to 10 minutes or so. So if you live in Cherokee County, also in St. Clair County, you want to be in a safe place right now as you have tornado warnings in effect.